great to be back in beautiful British Columbia, where we as Albertans come and invade every single summer and enjoy the beauty of this incredible province. Quand j'étais jeune, on venait ici des fois pour des vacances et c'était un rêve. C'est comme vraiment le paradis sur Terre ici en Colombie-Britannique. Et quand j'étais jeune, on venait en voiture, ça a pris du temps. On demandait encore à nos parents, « Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? » Et j'ai rêvé de venir ici en Colombie-Britannique. Mes parents m'ont enseigné que si j'étais capable de travailler fort, je pouvais un jour peut-être avoir un chalet en Colombie-Britannique avec un bateau et une belle vie. Et c'était vraiment le deal au Canada. Vous travaillez fort, vous avez la chance d'avoir une belle vie dans un bel pays protégé et surtout sécuritaire. Comme enfant, en visite en Colombie-Britannique, je me souviens jamais de me sentir en danger. C'était tellement sécuritaire. Et les gens, les amis de notre famille étaient capables d'avoir une maison, des épiceries. C'était une belle vie à ce temps-là. Mais après 10 ans des libéraux, le coût de la vie a explosé. Les jeunes ne peuvent pas acheter des maisons, surtout ici. En Vancouver est le pire marché immobilier en Amérique du Nord. Le crime est hors de contrôle. L'immigration massive a inondé les emplois. Le marché d'immobilier et aussi mis de la pression sur le système de santé. Donc, c'est ça le bilan des libéraux. M. Carney a promis qu'il allait être différent. Malheureusement, il est encore pire. Regarde le bilan. Les faits, pas les photos, pas les belles annonces, pas des grandes réunions où les politiciens se félicitent, mais les résultats de M. Carney. Le déficit est plus grand avec M. Carney que ça n'a été avec M. Trudeau. La crise de logement est même pire. C'est pas seulement que les jeunes ne peuvent pas acheter des maisons, mais c'est trop cher pour des constructeurs de les bâtir. Notre économie a perdu 60 milliards de dollars d'investissement, surtout aux États-Unis. M. Carney, malgré ses belles promesses de pouvoir gérer Trump, est en train de perdre des guerres tarifaires avec la Chine, avec les États-Unis, et il n'a fait aucun progrès pour ouvrir d'autres marchés outre-mer. Notre économie est en baisse, les salaires tombent, le chômage augmente, le coût de la vie est plus élevé que jamais, et monsieur le banquier n'est même pas capable d'introduire un budget. Comment ça se fait qu'il n'y a pas de budget? Puis, la criminalité est hors de contrôle. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui à un endroit où les policiers de Surrey ont dû informer le public que cet endroit, cet édifice a été tiré. Il y a une augmentation dans la violence, l'extorsion de 330% à travers le Canada à cause de la criminalité que les libéraux ont libérée. Des lois qui permettent des criminels, les pires criminels, d'entrer dans notre pays, de faire des crimes et d'être libérés de la prison. Donc, les conservateurs ont pour priorité, au retour du Parlement, de renverser le dommage que les libéraux ont fait. Nos priorités sont le pouvoir d'achat avec des chèques de paie qui achètent plus. Les communautés sécuritaires, des frontières solides et une économie souveraine. Celles sont les 4 priorités des conservateurs pour le retour des travaux parlementaires en septembre. Et nous allons élaborer ça rapidement. Nous voulons couper les taxes, les impôts, réduire le déficit. On peut faire les deux si on coupe la bureaucratie, les consultants, l'aide à l'étranger, le BS corporatif et tout l'autre gaspillage que M. Carney vient d'augmenter malgré ses promesses et sa rhétorique. Nous allons pousser pour des lois plus sévères pour mettre des criminels en prison. Nous allons pousser pour moins d'immigration, de réduire le nombre et de solidifier et protéger notre pays contre ceux et celles qui aimeraient faire des fraudes pour entrer au Canada. Et finalement, une économie plus autonome et un pays plus souverain, en libérant nos ressources naturelles, en protégeant notre technologie ici au Canada. Nous proposons une loi sur la souveraineté canadienne, une loi qui va protéger notre économie et nous rendre moins dépendants des Américains. C'est une belle vision remplie de l'espoir, mais ça commence avec la sécurité. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que les conservateurs vont réintroduire un plan pour protéger les Canadiens contre l'extorsion. Le plan a 3 buts. Premièrement, on va criminaliser le groupe Bishnoi. C'est un groupe terroriste qui fait de l'extorsion, qui cause de violence et de chaos dans nos rues. Nous réclamons au gouvernement de criminaliser ce groupe-là comme terroriste. Deuxièmement, arrêter l'extorsion en remettant en place des lois plus sévères. 3 ans pour toute extorsion, 4 ans si une arme de feu est utilisée, et 5 ans si l'extorsion est liée au crime organisé. L'incendie criminel devrait être considéré comme une circonstance aggravante lors de la détermination de la peine. La prison et la non-libération aussi, les libéraux ont créé la libération automatique avec C5 et C75. Les conservateurs vont proposer d'abolir ces lois et réinstaurer le principe que les criminels massifs restent en prison dès leur arrestation. J'ajouterai une 4e, et c'est la loi de Michel Rempel, pour interdire des juges de donner des peines moins sévères à cause du fait que le criminel est dans le statut de l'immigration. Ça ne devrait pas rendre les peines moins sévères à cause du fait que quelqu'un est en train de faire une application pour l'immigration ici au Canada. Ça, c'est pas juste. Tout le monde devrait payer le prix s'ils font la criminalité. La vie devient de plus coûteuse, plus dangereuse et moins agréable après l'arrivée au pouvoir de M. Carney, qui garde en place les mêmes politiques des libéraux. Mais il y a de l'espoir. Les conservateurs vont mettre le Canada d'abord. On va travailler pour avancer un pays qui est sécuritaire, abordable et fort. Un pays souverain, le Canada qu'on aime. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, everyone. It is great to be back in beautiful British Columbia. As I said at the outset, we used to love to vacation here as kids, and including here in Surrey. And I always remember my parents' friends, who were welcoming us here. They could afford homes. They felt safe. Life was affordable and optimistic. And my folks would tell me that if I worked hard enough, one day I could even have a little cabin or cottage in beautiful BC. And that was the kind of optimism we grew up with in Canada. A beautiful, hopeful future. It was the deal, simple deal. You work hard, you get a great life. And I think that my friends who are here with me today would agree. Sukhman Gill, our Member of Parliament for Abbotsford, South Langley. Sukhman, thank you very much for being here, and congratulations on your election. Candidate Suk Pander, and of course Jesse Sahota, not only a candidate but also a police officer and a wrestling coach. He is acting as security for me here today. Look at the shoulders on this guy, strong guy. They grew up with the same hope and the same deal in Canada. You work hard, you get a great life, and that's why people come to this country. But after 10 years of Liberals, everything costs more. It's impossible for our youth to afford homes. Single mothers wonder how they'll feed their kids. Food price inflation is on the rise again. We saw it just today. We see Liberals have not only doubled the national debt, they have doubled the housing costs, doubled food bank lineups, and doubled gun crime. Here we are today at a location that was the victim of one of those very crimes. Let me read from Red FM. Surrey Police Service officers are investigating a shooting incident at the Royal King Banquet Hall located in the Pale Business Center. According to police, damage to the exterior of the banquet hall was discovered by staff at 1 a.m. on July 21st, 2025, where it was confirmed that the damage was consistent with gunfire. So this is just one of the many examples of the 330% increase in extortion-related crimes since Liberals lowered the penalty for extortion. They removed mandatory prison sentences for extortion with a gun. No wonder crime is raging out of control. Crime, costs, immigration, housing prices are all out of control after 10 years of Liberals, and Mark Carney promised to be different. Instead, everything is worse. The deficit is worse under Carney than it was under Trudeau. The crime is rising under Mark Carney. Our economy is falling, with $60 billion of net investment fleeing our country since he became Prime Minister. Not a single new pipeline, so not a single new proposal for an LNG plant or nuclear plant or port expansion has been made since Mark Carney took office, promising that he was going to reverse weak Liberal economic policies. In fact, he has given a gift to President Trump as $60 billion of Canadian investment has fled the country in less than the half a year since Mr. Carney took office. And speaking of trade, he promised he could handle Trump. He said that he could negotiate a winning deal. So far, American tariffs have doubled on Canada, and we're now losing a trade war with China, which is hammering our farmers and fish harvesters. As Mark Carney fails abroad, Canadians pay the price here at home. And nowhere is this more true than in the area of crime and chaos. Mark Carney has not only failed to change a single Liberal law he sent his MPs home for the summer with crime up, inflation up, the deficit up, and elbows down, and not a one action taken to reverse the Liberal crime chaos that we came to expect under his predecessor. And he put in charge of crime his two most incompetent ministers. First, he's got Sean Fraser as the Justice Minister. This is the immigration minister who caused the immigration crisis, and the housing minister who caused the housing crisis. And now because of those failures, he's in charge of law and order. And then he's got a public safety minister who doesn't even know what a gun license is. So how can he fight gun crime? The incompetence that you have to have as a prime minister to name such terrible ministers would be laughable if it weren't so terrifying, because the people behind me today are paying the price for this insanity. And that is why Conservatives are setting our priorities for the fall session. We want stronger take-home pay that buys more affordable goods, safer communities by locking up criminals, secure borders with immigration that is under control and drugs and guns kept out of our country, and a self-reliant Canada that produces more of its own goods and reaches overseas markets so that we're no longer so helplessly reliant on one market. That is our priority. Stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders, a self-reliant Canada. And that is what we will be fighting for in the fall session. But it starts with safety. And that's why today I am announcing the Conservative Action Plan to counter the Liberal extortion crisis. Number one, we're calling on the government to immediately list the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist organization. The Bishnoi gang has been terrorizing communities, shooting up neighborhoods, extorting our people, and taking the money out of our country. There's evidence now that their violence is linked to terror and to political motivations. This is why numerous mayors and premiers, including Mayor Patrick Brown from Brampton, have called for this group to be listed as a terrorist body. Doing so would allow police to arrest anyone who raises money, organizes, plans, does logistics or recruitment, and put those people in jail, or if they are non-Canadians, kick them out of this country. Next, we are calling for jail and not bail by repealing Liberal Law C-75 and Liberal Law C-5, that we will ensure that offenders who engage in extortion go to jail. They are not automatically released again and again through the revolving door. Finally, we're calling for the adoption of our Deputy Leader Tim Uppal's bill making mandatory prison sentences for extortion. First offense will be minimum 4 years. If it's with a gun, it will be 5 years and up to 7, and it will be an aggravating offense if the extortion involves the use of fire. So this action plan will help us to become more secure. And I would add, Michelle Rempel's bill, she's announcing, she's bringing a bill saying that immigration status should not be used by judges to reduce the sentences of convicted criminals. You know, the other day we had a judge who said, well, this individual is a non-Canadian, and if they get a high conviction, they'll be deported from the country. Well, that's what we want. If someone commits a crime when they're here as a visitor, we want them to do a sentence in prison and then get the hell out of Canada. We don't want to keep criminals in our streets. We don't want to invite criminals to our country. Every single criminal who visits our country and is a non-Canadian should be quickly deported from our country. The Liberals, under Mark Carney, have lost track of 600 convicted criminals who are wandering our streets, committing even more crime. These are not even Canadian citizens. We need to bring back an immigration system that brings in only the right people in the right numbers. People who lawfully enter our country and follow all the rules are welcome to contribute, but only in the numbers we can absorb, and only law-abiding, hardworking people need to be allowed into our country. That is the approach that Conservatives will take. Again, our priorities for the fall session are to bring in stronger take-home pay that buys you more, safer streets with criminals behind bars, secure borders with immigration that is under control and lawful, and fourth and finally, a self-reliant Canada, a Canada where we produce our own goods, we export to markets around the world, no longer dependent on the Americans. By the way, I heard that Mark Carney is celebrating today that he set up yet another bureaucracy. This is his answer to the American tariffs. He's going to create a new office. Mr. Carney, we don't need more bureaucrats and offices in Ottawa. We don't need to build an office. We need to build pipelines, mines, LNG plants, nuclear plants. Not one of those projects has been proposed since Mark Carney took office. And that is why our Sovereignty Act, the Canadian Sovereignty Act that Conservatives are proposing, will repeal the anti-energy laws, make this the fastest place to get a permit, end capital gains tax when you reinvest the money in Canada to bring back the hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that the Carney Liberals have lost our country. Bring it back to Canada, make this a strong, self-reliant country for a change. That is our purpose, that is our mission. Now, let's get to work. Thank you.
Now taking questions from the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. My name is Parmeet Kamra from Omni News and City as well.
Yes, Parmeet.
My question is about the violence and the extortion which you have talked about. So the extortion wave which has gripped the city of Surrey as well as Canada, it has everyone in fear. Extortion victim Satish Kumar, he has hosted one community meeting, community forum as well, to highlight the real fear. My question to you is, what federal envision you have, or what do you propose to protect these vulnerable small businesses who are repeatedly targeted right now?
Thank you very much for your question. And I called Satish when he had his town hall. I wanted to be here. The answer is we need to reverse the Liberal laws that have caused this chaos in the first place. Liberals passed C5, which lowered the penalty for extortion with a gun. What do you know? Now we have more extortion with guns. Then they brought in C75, catch and release bail. So the same extortionists who get caught are released within hours to go and do extortion all over again. Third, they ruined our immigration system, so we no longer screen for criminal records in other parts of the world. So people are able to come in with criminal records and carry out crime on behalf of the Bishnoi Group and other global crime networks. So our plan repeals catch and release bail, brings in mandatory jail time for repeat offenders, and ensures that we have a ban on the Bishnoi terrorists, so that this network of extortionists and terrorists are automatically criminalized, their members are locked up, and those who are not citizens of Canada should be kicked out. We need to track down the 600 criminals that are non-Canadians that liberals have allowed to run free in our streets, and they need to be deported from this country so they can no longer harm our people. It's time for us to put Canada first and put law-abiding citizens ahead of criminals. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. I'm
Yes.
Paul Broad from 600 AM, Shere Punjab Radio.
Yes.
Congratulations
Thank
for
you, sir.
getting a seat back.
Great to be back.
Thank you. Just a quick, precise, and to the point question. When can we expect elections? You mentioned so many failures of this government. When can we expect another election?
All the easy questions. Listen, we had an election in April the 28th. It was a very close one. And what people are seeing is that Mark Carney, while he made grand promises of change, he's even worse than Justin Trudeau. Under his leadership, our deficit has grown, unemployment is rising, $60 billion of net investment has fled our country. The U.S. tariffs have doubled on Canada, and Carney is now losing a trade war with China. He is clearly failing to live up to the massive promises that he made, and while he gets gushing media coverage for meetings and photo ops and grand announcements that amount to nothing, Mark Carney is one walking, talking, broken promise. And our job in the fall session will be, one, to hold him accountable for the failures that are costing you more, endangering your family, and weakening our country. But two, we're not just going to oppose out of control liberal crime, inflation, immigration, housing costs. We are going to propose real solutions that will mean stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders, and a self-reliant Canada. When the election will happen is unknown at this point. But what we do know is that when Canadians do one day go to the polls, they will be choosing between more liberal cost, crime, and chaos, or conservatives who will give you stronger pay, affordable life, and safe streets. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre.
Yes.
Congratulations
Thank you
on
very
your
much,
winning,
sir.
and it's good to see you back in action.
It's great to be back in action.
Sami
Thanks for
Kaushal here from
Go ahead.
Swift Radio, 1200 AM and News Derby. My question to you that as you mentioned that you are calling the government to designate Bishnoi group or individual Lawrence Bishnoi as a terrorist entity or terrorist organization in Canada. There are so many premiers, those who have raised the same issue, and they want this individual to be designated as a terrorist here on this Canadian soil. How will you ensure that a person who is 14,000 kilometers away, imprisoned in a foreign jail, if the government designates that person or entity as a terrorist organization over here, how will that improve the law and order situation here? And before making this statement, have you checked with the law enforcement agencies whether they are, making any kind of charges on him or any of his subordinate or any person associated to his group?
Yes, so thank you very much for your question. First and foremost, you're quite right. Mr. Bishnoi himself is in a prison in India, but his network is wide and vast. His organization takes orders from him and carry out extortions and other crimes around the world. Now, how will banning the organization of a man who's already in a foreign jail make a difference? What it would do is it will allow police to charge anyone who here in Canada raises money, recruits, organizes, plans, facilitates, or in any way helps this organization do its work. And that would shut down an international extortion network that has terrorized communities like Surrey, Brampton, Northeast Calgary over the last 7 years. Law enforcement has spoken out about the organized chaos and violence this group has done in our country, and that is why mayors across the country, premiers, have also said that based on the police intelligence and information they have received, this organization should be put on the list of banned terrorist entities. They should be shut down. It's those who are here as visitors and are non-Canadians should be kicked out, and those that are Canadians that are cooperating with this terrorist group should be jailed.
Hello, Andrew Johnson with CTV National News. You've said you support flight attendants and their demand to be paid for ground work, but you haven't said whether you support their union's illegal action to not abide by a back-to-work order. Do you support CUPE?
We support law and order, so everyone should follow the law, but it's simultaneously possible to say that everyone should follow the law and the rules, while saying that it's very unfair that the Liberals have voted against a Conservative bill requiring that flight attendants get paid for every minute they work. You know, they show up, I see these flight attendants on the flights. I'm often on planes sitting in the economy class, and we're stuck on the tarmac because the flight is delayed. And I think of these poor working flight attendants up on their feet, serving the passengers, and they're not getting paid. It's crazy. You know, you should be paid for the work that you do. We put forward a bill to that effect. If the Liberals had voted for that bill, we might have been able to avoid this strike. And we need more competition in our economy so that workers and consumers can choose between more airlines. And that would allow better wages for the workers and better choice and prices for our consumers. Of course, after 10 years of Liberals, air travel is worse than ever before, more cancellations, more delays, higher prices, and worse working conditions for our workers. And finally, last year we had the largest number of strikes in a generation. Well, why is that? Inflation. Because when Mark Carney advised the Liberals to print and spend money and cause the worst inflation in 40 years, what happened? Workers had to fight for wage hikes in order to catch up with the cost of living. As long as you have Liberals spending money they don't have on things we do not need, working people will pay the price through higher inflation. We need to cut back on the consultants, the waste, the bureaucracy to bring down debt, inflation, and taxes. Thank you.
Hello, Ismail Ghanay, CBC National News. Have the measures the Canadian Armed Forces taken to date to combat hateful conduct and racism been sufficient? And what should happen to the soldiers who gave the Nazi salute?
We condemn that, and I think after a decade of Liberal mismanagement and poor political leadership, our military is in a difficult state, despite the courageous men and women who put on the uniform every single day. Liberals have ruined our armed forces by underfunding the front line, by building up the back office bureaucracy, and by wasting money on constant procurement boondoggles. We believe in a military that is strong. We want to fill all the vacancies in recruitment. We want to rearm our forces, buy the Poseidon planes, the fighter jets. We need 3 new bases in the north. We need to take back control of our Arctic. We need a military that is guided by a warrior culture. And that is what we're going to have under a future Conservative government. Thank you.
And last question.
Sonia West from Sanja TV.
Hi,
Hello,
Sonia.
Mr. Poilievre. Congratulations on winning your way back.
Thank you very much, Sonia.
You're very welcome. Remember when we were little, those books, Choose Your Own Adventure? I'm sure we all remember them.
Right.
If we could go back, Canadians could go back and choose their own adventure, and it was you that they had chosen in April, what would it look like now between Canada and US? Because it's bad. The relationship is broken.
A lot better than it does right now. I mean, where are Mark Carney's elbows these days? He seems to have misplaced them. He's made concession after concession to President Trump and got nothing in return. That would be one thing if he backed down on counter tariffs and the digital services tax and so on and got wins. But instead, the tariffs are twice as high today on Canada than they were when Mark Carney took office. He's cast aside, he's not even invited to big international meetings, and Beijing's dictatorship now smells weakness. And they're targeting us with new tariffs on our farmers and fish harvesters. Mark Carney is losing abroad, and Canadians are paying the price at home. So I think everyone's waiting for this, for Mr. Carney to live up to his promises. If I were Prime Minister today, we would be building from a position of strength. We would have passed the Canadian Sovereignty Act to repeal all the anti-energy laws, legalizing rapid pipeline construction, mines, LNG plants, nuclear facilities, expanding and opening up our ports so that we could send our goods overseas and be less reliant on the Americans. And we would negotiate from that position of strength to get a fair deal that, yes, ensures Canada does its job of protecting North America with a stronger military and more secure borders, but also gives us free trade with our American friends. That is the deal. That would be the adventure that we would be on now, and it is what we are going to put forward when Canadians eventually vote in the next election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our press conference.
Thank you.